When many cleaning companies write proposals, the instinct can be to add more detail, more pages, more technical language, more explanations, and more line items. Many people like more. But does more information actually help close the deal? That's a big question. In many cases, too much detail can possibly overwhelm customers, create confusion, and bury the real value cleaning contractors provide. So today we're going to discuss why clarity often beats complexity in cleaning proposals, how to communicate value without overloading clients, and what separates proposals that win work from proposals that simply provide information. And how are we going to do this? Well, it's with Jeff Carmen. He's a coach and consultant with Elite BSC. Jeff, thank you for your time today.
It's always great to see you, Jeff. Looking forward to the conversation.
Another good one, of course, these topics are right on when it comes to building service contractors and what they need. So let's get into it. Why don't you talk about why so many cleaning companies mistake, I guess you could say, quote unquote, more detail for, quote unquote, more value when creating proposals?
We're all guilty of this. I was guilty of this when I worked at France Building Services. And I think part of it is, or maybe the majority of it is what we do is not overly complex. I mean, we're cleaning buildings and there's certainly some processes and things that need to go on. But so I think we get a little bit of this syndrome that says, hey, we need to provide more information so that it makes it sound more than what it is. And so I think there's a little bit of that goes on. And then secondly, I think I would call this the Toby Keith syndrome. And we always want to talk about what we want to talk about me. And I think that's a natural tendency, not just in our industry, but in other industries too. And so because of those two things, I think it just turns into kind of a information dump in a lot of proposals. And I'm guilty of it myself.
Information dump. That might be in our headline for this, Jeff.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
We'll
Yeah,
see. We'll
yeah.
see. All right. So with what you said in mind, talk about this. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see that in proposals that confuse customers or maybe even slow down that sales process?
Yeah, and we've already mentioned one. One of them is just too much information, and
Mhm.
there's a balance, and I'll talk about that in just a second. So that the too much information is not thinking about really what the customer needs or prospective customer needs to know. And so, for instance, I think something like a certificate of insurance, a lot of people put that in there. Only, I believe only if the customer asks for it, that's needed. That's kind of a table stakes. People assume that you've got plenty of insurance if you're bidding on things that are larger, and then things like equipment information. Now, on the flip side, though, you can get into a place where you don't provide enough information, and this is a case where not providing enough information is not helping that decision maker when they carry that proposal into their team. And so we want to think about all of the questions that that person is going to have to carry to their team and build our proposal around that.
Okay, so let's help people. What are some simple ways that these companies we're speaking to today can make proposals clear, easier to understand, and really help them win business?
I think the best way to do that is when we approach our proposals, we need to answer really five questions that most every prospective customer wants to know. And the first, and I'm going to list these, and I would say maybe these are in the order in which they need to be in your proposal, but you might want to play around with that first. First is the first question is how much is this going to cost? What's included in that cost? So in this particular area of your proposal, you want to talk about what it's going to cost each month, and then include things that are included and what are not included, payment terms, those kinds of things. The second question needs to be answered is if I have an issue or a request, how and to whom do I get that communicated? Because we all know that there's going to be mistakes in our business. There's probably a mistake every single night in every single building. But if a customer has a request or they have something that they need to get on to you as a company, they want to know, how do I get that off my plate and move on to my work? Third question is how does your company ensure that people are actually going to show up and do their work every single night? What's the methodology that you have to ensure workers are going to show up? And also, as a part of that, how do I know the people that you're going to bring in here actually know what to do when they get in? So this is where we're talking about training and those kinds of things. The fourth question is that we have there is I want to know what it looks like if I decide to move forward with you. What's your startup plan? What's that look like for us to over the first, say 30 to 60 to 90 days? And then the question is have you ever worked with a business like ours? Or a facility of our size? And do you have a few names of people that I could call to verify that you guys do good work? And then I'm going to add this as a little bonus. I think this is appropriate. This would be number six, I guess, would be who is this company I'm working with? So this is the place you can put things like mission, vision, values, and those kinds of things. And so often we want to put that first. We want to say, hey, this is who we are, but there's a place for it, but maybe it's toward the end.
You've done this before, haven't you?
Yeah, a lot. And I've done it poorly for a long time. So I've tweaked that process a little bit. Yeah.
I like that structure. That makes a lot of sense. In fact, I'll try to pull those out and put those in the episode notes below as well. That's a nice way of forming that proposal because it answers the questions they're thinking about. Isn't that the case?
It is. And again, the proposal, a lot of times we're delivering it to a person that then carries that up to a team or their boss. And we want to equip them. So if their boss says, well, how do we know that they're going to bring in workers that have had background checks? Well, they mention it right here when they talk about their training and how they do their hiring process. So that could be a part of that as well. So
So you said price up front. Was that number one? What's it going to
yeah.
cost? What do we get? Is
Yeah.
that, do you see that in proposals these days from other companies? Is that kind of unique or is it common?
That's interesting. We at France we played around with that a lot. In fact, we even used to have a little phrase in there that would say, if we want to put this price, we understand that your budget is important, so let's put that up front. If this doesn't meet what you want in terms of price, we'll save you the trouble of reading the rest of the proposal. I think people put it different places. I'd add this too about pricing. As the deal size goes up, I think it's nice to provide a little bit of transparency on how you developed your price. If, for example, if a deal's $2,500 a month, you can probably just provide the price. But when you get on up into deals that are 20, 30, 40, $50,000 and above, if your competitor is $3,000 a month off, but you can show that, hey, the number of hours that I calculated is what it's going to need to do, what it's going to take to really clean your building, and I'm paying my people just a little bit above market. That can justify to a larger customer that they might take a price that's a little bit higher.
So no rules, just guidance
Just
and
guidance.
judgment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Jeff. I have a new way of closing our episodes. I'm going to call it Carmen's Cool Closing.
You don't usually see Carmen and Cool together, but
We do today. Carmen's Cool. What's your final thought, Jeff?
so a final thought is let chat. We've got AI tools now, so let Claude and Chat GPT be your friend. Take your proposal, work through these questions that we just talked about, and say, is my proposal answering these questions? And then ask it to go through and see how many times you put that we put I, ours, and how many times you put you and yours, because we want to talk to the customer. We want to speak to them.